I think a lot of the people that talk about, because at the moment narcissism is in vogue on YouTube, isn't it? But I think a lot of people that talk about narcissism and stuff like that, they have the right idea, and some people have really experienced certain things, and they're talking about they're sharing their experiences, and that's absolutely valid, and I commend them for it. I think one thing that they're missing though is the fact that once you disconnect from the matrix, once you disconnect from the system, or you start the process of awakening and seeing things for what they are, as you think they are, or as you've been programmed to think they are, and you start to recognize that some people are actually not even, they're running off programs. They have no core beliefs. They're just running off programs and scripts. They're not really there. They're not really present. And once you learn about how pendulums work, these energy vortexes, energy egregores, and how they function in reality, you start to recognize that, okay, right, all of this is happening in the external, but also at the same time, the external is a mirror. So you see, it's like I'm trying to bridge the gap, or bridge two very, very, very complex ideas or schools of thought together, which is, on the one hand, is that all reality exists in the mind. All reality is projected from the mind. Science has actually proven this, through the observer effect of when we look at photons and how light can act as two things simultaneously, as a wave and also as a particle. But I contend that light doesn't actually, the photon doesn't take those forms necessarily. The observer, based on the observer's position and state of mind, and what the observer thinks he's going to perceive, is what he perceives. This is my position, and I have looked at this extensively, and I am convinced of it. Let's go back to Schrödinger's cat, right? I know this is a bit all over the place, but I just want to try and, condense it as best as I can. So, the concept of Schrödinger's cat, right? When the observer opens the box, if the observer has zero expectations, genuinely, and when I say genuinely, I mean this from a standpoint of, say, imagine the observer having completely, sorry, I'm just observing birds on my window. I really love birds. They make me laugh, and how they react sometimes. Sometimes they can be very cordial, and sometimes they can be very, very aggressive to each other. But yeah. Anyway, so going back to the point. So if genuinely the mind was empty of expectation, I believe that if he opened the box, he would find the cat half dead and half alive. Genuinely. If he had no expectation. But if he has some sort of expectation of what he's going to perceive, which will shape his perception, then what he would come across would be, he thinks, oh, it's going to be dead. He's going to come across a dead cat. Oh, it's going to be alive. It's going to be an alive cat, or even if it's subconscious. But it all depends on the weighting of the belief. If the belief is genuinely strongly held, then that's what would happen. Because remember, all of reality is a projection from within. Sight is from within. It's like the light comes out of us. It doesn't come into our eyes. It comes from, regardless of what science would tell you, guys, like, do the work and you know what I'm talking about. The light is from within. We illuminate this place, right? So now then that goes to the point of now discussing narcissism and etc., 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 and all these NPCs and stuff. Yes, some of the awakened ones, or the awakening ones, are creating them, man. We are creating their responses to us, because we're not going out into the world completely empty. We are going in the world with, even though we say we have no ego, we do have ego. We're going in this world thinking, oh, look, he's acting like because we know how NPCs act, we know how narcissists act. So we are looking for those things. And once we see them, those things, it's like a cycle, you know. So what I contend is, because we know that thoughts create reality, and all the Jedis, you know, at this level, we know this. Vanquish them. Don't think about them. Or even better still, why don't we project a reality that all the NPCs or all the narcs are actually going to start growing up? Because remember, if we want utopia, we want peace, we want love, we want harmony, it would be good if everybody was on the same page, wouldn't it? It would. It genuinely would. It genuinely would be beneficial, wouldn't it? So, with that being said, I'm not saying let's be compassionate to narcissists. No way. A narcissist completely tried to. I've had experience with narcissism, and it's horrible. My mother's a terrible narcissist, and yeah, you know, the Christians would say, "Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do, because they're asleep," and that's fine. But if you're asleep and you're sleepwalking and pick up a knife and you kill someone, you've still killed them. As far as life is concerned, as far as the 3D, the 5D, the 7D is concerned, yes, you still have committed that thing, because regardless of the intention, you put yourself in a position to be used by whatever forces or energies or the program. So you're still liable, you know. Because in the Matrix, they say at any given point, anybody can be an agent, right? Which means at any given point, anybody can be possessed by the program, possessed by the egregore, possessed by the demonic forces, right? And respond accordingly, right? We know this. So why don't we, as the Jedis, will everybody, or project onto the screen, the mirror, that everybody's waking up? Just an idea. Everybody's waking up. Everybody's starting to wise up. Everybody's starting to see it for what it is. Everybody's starting to wake up. But I know that's not possible, because not everybody can be woken up from the Matrix. We get it. We get it. So let's join our energies and at least project that at least 50% of people are conscious now. That would be cool. And we've come a long way, because I've been on. I'm still in my 30s, but I started this journey when I was 17 years old. 19 years old is when I started this journey. You know, I knew something was up, and I delved into books, and it just wasn't filling my appetite. I would get, it doesn't quite answer the question. I knew there was an answer somewhere, you know, and I kept looking, and it's a very long story. One day I'll share it. And I've only literally had my awakening almost 17 years later. You know, and so many things happened back to back till the big poof, and I was like, oh shit, that's what it was. So really and truly, that's how it operates, you know. That's how it operates. So we need to understand that we are projecting onto the screen of space. Thoughts create reality. So if thoughts create reality, then if we are experiencing narcissism and we're experiencing all these things, we are partially responsible for it. Fact. Let me give you an example, because I know this is not going to be popular, but let me give you an example. So Neo in the Matrix, right? He is about to get into the phone booth thing, right? In the subway, after he just fought an agent. He looks at the guy that's begging for money in his full kind of Super Saiyan, you know, activated mode, right? Which is like the conscious being. I'm just trying to create like an analogy here. So conscious awakened being or awakening being is like that. But he looks at that guy that's begging for money, the homeless bum. He looks at him with the expectation that this guy is going to this guy can potentially turn into an agent, or this guy could probably, like, he's seen me. He had that look on his face of, oh, this guy's seen me. And instantly, when that happened, what happened? That guy got possessed by an agent. If Neo went there and casually just went to the phone book, ignored that guy, didn't even look in his direction, that guy would not been able to. That energy form would not, because the energy form is not in the 3D. It's energetic, it's spiritual, right? So it needs a catalyst, and the catalyst is you. Do you see what I'm saying? You are the catalyst. You are the reason why it activates. It's you. You are the reason why it activates. So if Neo, we'll never know, but what if Neo projected on the screen in that moment that this guy's not going to react? So he just walks past him. Like, I'm cool. Nothing's going to happen. The guy wouldn't have reacted, because other things have happened in different scenes where he's in public, and not everybody turns into an agent, right? Right? They drive through the streets and stuff, and nothing happens. No, the streets people, the people don't just like zombie attack them, because in that moment, their thoughts creating reality in terms of, expectation of them being, ambushed by agents is very, very low. Do you see? So we are also part of the problem. So whatever we experiencing, bruh, we are doing to ourselves. Who else is there? Who else is here? Who else is here? There's nobody else here. This is just consciousness talking to other consciousness, which is me, which is not even me, which is part of the same whole. So there's nobody else here. It's us. We're doing this whole thing to ourselves. This is why we have certain things that happen in the collective. Certain themes happen in the collective. People that look into, because I try to study astrology, not study as a thing, but observe it and then delve into it. Because I was like, how are there these similarities and stuff like that? There are similarities because people project onto the screen. And when people are projecting onto the screen, right, that expectation, it's like an energy form. Other people pick up on it. And then it becomes a thing. It grows, it becomes a pendulum. Like Vadim Zeland states, it becomes a thing. And that's why you can say certain things and then it will correspond with people. Because, oh yeah. Because bear in mind, especially if they are an NPC or not awakened, they're running off programs. So they're very, 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 very easy to trigger on certain things. Very easy. You can have a conversation about COVID with somebody, and then I shouldn't have said that word because what happened to my previous channel. But you can have a conversation about that thing and the things that came after it, and the multiple things that it became like a regular thing now. Oh, you don't need 1, you need 2, you need 3, 4, and then like all of that, right? And then even the fact that they tried to come up with some other nonsense ones after the thing. Like there was one called Kawasaki or something, which it didn't really catch on with the NPCs, so they scrapped it. Then there was another one that they recently tried to run. I think the memory is fading. I believe that there are programs also that erase memories. You might think I'm crazy, but one day I'll get into it, and that's how people have Mandela effects and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, there was another one that they named, and then there was another thing that was potentially could be coming, and this other stuff, and so you have the conversation with people. It can trigger people, right? It can trigger them. But again, it's the projection, because we are having a conversation with that person projecting. Yes, we might be coming from a good place. We're trying to wake them up, right? But remember, that person's running off programs. So in the propaganda that's fed to their minds, they've been fed that if the conversation strays to this point, there's an alarm bell that goes off energetically. Woof, that person then transforms into an agent. They become a demon. They become an egregore there and then. Families have split up. Relationships are broken up over this. And it's not even about the topic itself. It's about agent versus awakened or awakening individual. That's all it is. So really, if you as the person that's trying to deliver that message, maybe don't deliver that message that way. Have no expectations. Maybe give them, breadcrumb them in a way. Or maybe come to the realization and the acceptance that maybe this run of reality, or this stage of the reality, let's call it, stage 2023, right? Of the video game, because there are infinite stages happening simultaneously. You're not the only version of you here at this time. There are versions of you in one dimension, in two dimensions, in 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, infinite, to the point where you're infinite. You're everywhere and nowhere at the same time. It's happening simultaneously, right? So maybe you have to come to the acceptance, just like there are plants and trees and grass and things that are rigid, perceptively rigid in this 3D iteration. You have to accept that there might be humans that are also like that. On this stage, they can't change. They can't see what you're supposed to see. So maybe you just have to, because it's not your job to change people or wake them up. You woke yourself up. In a lot of cases, like I woke myself up. Like I knew something was up and I went after the things that I went down the rabbit hole, right? So if another person has that itch, they will come to a person like you and say, hey, what do you think about this? Or even sometimes in an open conversation, you might have a conversation with somebody, then it might start, blah, 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 blah. Nobody wakes anybody up. We're not fucking prophets. Do you understand? We seek out each other magnetically. So when one conscious being is waking up, his energy signature is different. So he attracts people that are on his frequency. It's something that is beyond your tiny mind. You can't legislate that. Like, I'll give you an example, right? So when I started to ask these questions, right, randomly, I went to a barbershop. I used to go to one barbershop, but then I had to move. When I was at university, I had to move to another area. And just by accident, I was walking down the street and I saw this barbershop and I thought, oh, let me go in. So I go in the barbershop and, young guy, I'm just there, went to get a haircut. And the guy that's cutting the hair put a DVD on. This is, God, I can't even believe we're talking about DVDs now. But the guy put a DVD on, yeah? For the young people that would hear this at some point, there was a thing. Yeah, so he put a DVD on, which was a talk by Dr. John Henrik Clarke. If you don't know him, look him up. He used to talk a lot about sort of like the Afrocentric cause and Afrocentrism and stuff like this, politics and the history of all of that. Very, 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 very amazing mind. And it was a conversation between, I think it was, no, I don't think it was a conversation, he was talking about Sheikh Anta Diop in that talk. And Sheikh Anta Diop had done extensive work on the pyramids and Egypt and stuff like this. And I was like, oh shit. Like, as a kid, I didn't even make the connection as this being some sort of like coincidence, or what do you call it? Synchronicity. But then it piqued my interest. And when the guy started cutting my hair, I said, oh yeah, I'm really interested in this kind of stuff because I feel like, how could people build this stuff at this time? And it's like, oh wow, it's really amazing. Go watch this DVD. He gave me a stack of DVDs. Me and this guy are friends still to this day, and that opened doors for me to delve deeper. So it's like, and he was also on a similar journey, yes, further up on the path, but we attracted each other because there was no reason. I could have gone to my previous barbershop, or that day he couldn't have come to work. Or he could have chosen to put on another DVD that day. Or he could have been busy cutting someone else's hair that day. So these coincidences and synchronicities are not an accident. They happen because you attract these things into your life, right? So I know this has been a bit of a rant and a ramble, but I hope you can take from it what you can. But yeah, thoughts create reality. So please be careful and project what you want to see. And have no expectations on the NPCs and the narcs, etc., etc., etc. They are living their own lives. They're on their own journeys. Leave them alone. It's not your job to change them. Just project what you want to see on the screen. Don't react to them, because if you react to them, egregores, agents, pendulums exist. Yeah? Do the work. Spend some time in study, contemplation, meditation. Go inward. Love yourself. And shine bright. You are consciousness. Guys, you are conscious.